Hi, and welcome to this episode of AdTastic. I'm your host, Tony Stanall, and today we're talking with Marissa Nance of Native Tongue Communications. Welcome, Marissa.
Hi, Tony. Thank you for having me.
Now, you've got big agency, holding company background and experience in media, and you've decided to pivot slightly and do something on your own. Why don't you tell us a little about the decision to do that and what you're up to?
Yeah, I spent about 30 years at one of the major holding companies, and I like to think I had a fairly successful career and a good run, 30 years. But I tell people that throughout it, I would think if the name of my memoir, I'd call it The Only Chip in the Cookie, because many times I'd look up and I was the only person that looked or sounded like me in a room. And I thought if
Oh,
I had the opportunity to create a space, a safe space in a community filled with people that look and sound like me, who care about communities of color or communities that are made up of those who normally aren't given a voice or really not seen, then I should take it. And in January of 2019, I was given that opportunity. I took it and I launched Native Tongue Communications, and we are the first and only minority certified and female certified media agency to exist.
wow. And that was pre-pandemic. How did the pandemic, cause you to do anything differently?
Well, it's interesting. I tell folks we're a few years in and we're still a startup. We had 1 year under our belt pre-pandemic. I was a fairly nascent entrepreneur, and I remember turning to my husband New Year's Eve 2020 and saying, well, look, I got through it. I did it. Look at me. The rest is going to be gravy. And then 2 months into 2020, 3 months into 2020, the world blew up. And I'm not alone. I'm sure there's others that same situation has happened to. But I'd say because of who we are and what we do, there are two very distinct impacts that this situation, this global pandemic, created for Native Tongue. The first is we're a brand new company, and as such, we need clients. We need dollars coming in the door so that we can
Hmm.
sustain ourselves and keep going. And there was a lot of cutback in terms of marketing and media and spending
Mm.
at that time, and still. So for us, it's even harder to go out and find those budgets and find those clients that we can do the good work with, and not just finding a budget, but finding work with someone we feel good about, finding work with someone who shares our purpose and our passion in what we do professionally. But the second thing that's very interesting is because we're a certified entity and we specialize in a phrase I've coined, which is microcultural audiences. We don't say multicultural. I own the term microcultural because it is 2022 and beyond, and we can dive far too deep. We know the data and the analytics. We can get really deep into these audiences. They're microcultural.
Hmm.
Because of everything that's happened in the world, so many clients are beginning to realize, whether it be authentically or not, they need to touch these audiences in a real way with great resonance. And I think my agency does that better than anyone else. So we get calls because of that. So, there's a balance. We're getting the calls
Gotcha.
because of who we are and who we reach, but the dollars are still not quite what we'd love for them to be.
Well, we have a few seconds remaining. Give me an example of something that you've done. On AdTastic, we like to talk about success stories. So give us a quick one if you can.
Well, recently we were at Comic Con. One of our clients is Snoopy. Snoopy and Charlie Brown are our client. And we've been working with Peanuts worldwide, and we've created something called the Armstrong Project. Franklin Armstrong is an African American or Black peanut, and in his name, we've created an endowment at Hampton University and Howard University, my alma mater, with their schools of communications and fine arts, so that we can create a new pipeline of animators, artists, and illustrators who are of color. because now less than 1% of 1% of cartoonists and illustrators and animators are people of color. So it may be a little higher than that, but it's significantly low. So being able to work with Peanuts and create the very first endowment and opportunity in the Armstrong project to create something like that, and think forward, not just short term, but for the future, creating this pipeline of these artists is really a source of pride. And we are actually now working with Target in hopes of taking it into retail and really amplifying the story. And proceeds of the sales will go toward these wonderful endowments and these wonderful scholars. So that's a big deal, and we're very proud.
Absolutely. Well, much luck to you, Marissa. It sounds like you're well on your way, and hopefully this interview will allow you to get the word out even more strongly. So thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. And thank you for joining us on this episode of AdTastic. You know where you could find out more about Marissa Nance. That's at dailyadbrief.com, where this interview will be posted.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's Addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's Addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.